Honorable members, please, if even you have an issue, please allow the chair to call you. We need to have a very... Why? Honorable members, Dr. Sandari, sit down, please. Sit down. Doc, sit down.
Speaker, I'm not notorious. Everybody knows I'm a gentleman.
Honorable members, please, let us be tolerant a bit. Please. Doc, I haven't called you. Sit down. Please, let's allow the minority leader have his bite. I'll give you the opportunity to speak. Please. Yes, minority leader, let's hear you.
Mr. Speaker, it is the case of the applicant in the matter before us, Honorable Habib Idrisu, MP for Tolon, and the First Deputy Minority Whip. His application seeking your leave is on a matter of national importance. Mr. Speaker, to enable him mount the application, he laid a foundation by giving you the background to the matter upon which he seeks your leave. Mr. Speaker, the rule is that you cannot place something on nothing. There is no way you'll be well disposed to grant him leave unless at least you know the facts upon which he mounts his application. Mr. Speaker, and what is his application? His application is to the effect that grant him leave to raise this issue that occurred yesterday. And what is the issue? The issue is that state security operatives have raided the residence of Mr. Ken Ofori Atta, a former envoy and a former finance minister who is out of the jurisdiction, and he actually sought the leave of the chief of staff. Mr. Speaker, this country's democracy has well advanced. We cannot do this to ourselves as a political class. We cannot target each other only after elections. So, Mr. Speaker, so all he is trying to say is that grant him leave to proceed to raise this matter. Mr. Speaker, I'm happy that my respected colleague makes the point that he's a human rights activist and he would not in any way be against this matter being raised on the floor. So, Mr. Speaker, if it is his contention that the leave must be sought by at least giving you the headline, then after that he raises the matter properly, I agree, Mr. Speaker, and that's, I always see him with his standing orders. I've read the rule, statement by a member, by the indulgence of the House and the leave of Speaker, a member may explain a matter of personal nature or make a statement on a matter of urgent public importance. So, Mr. Speaker, he is right. The honorable member did not err. He only laid the foundation. He is now bringing the matter to the fore for all of us to have a bite. Mr. Speaker, we cannot allow a change in political power to lead to violence in the country. We cannot allow a situation where, when there's a change in government, political opponents will be blackmailed. Mr. Speaker, that is all his point. So grant him the leave for him to proceed. At least sufficient foundation has been laid.
And minority leader, I think we need to help the House with regards to Standing Orders 93-1. Is it the case that if a member would like to raise an issue, the member may consider it as an urgent? Does he has to seek, when you say by the leave of the Speaker, does it mean the person should have already discussed with the Speaker? I want us to, because it is something that is actually emerging, and we have to actually lay this fairly to the understanding of all of us, so that going forward we will know how to work. Yes, leader.
Mr. Speaker, Order 93-1 cannot be read in isolation. Mr. Speaker, go to Order 93-2. 93-2. Mr. Speaker, Order 93, Order 93-1, Order 93-1, Mr. Speaker, Order 93-1 says, by the indulgence of the House and leave of the Speaker, a member may explain a matter of personal nature or make a statement on a matter of urgent public importance at the time appointed for statements under Order 67. Mr. Speaker, this is the first time a statement is mentioned in that order. That's the first time a statement is mentioned in that order. Then Order 93-2 says that the proposed statement shall be admitted by the Speaker with or without modifications. The proposed statement. So, what does the proposed statement refer to? Where else is a mention made of a statement? It is a statement in Order 93-1. Because that's the first time there is mention of a statement. So that statement, Mr. Speaker, I have been in this House, and each time that you have a matter of urgent public importance that you intend to make a statement of, you go and see the Speaker and intimate to the Speaker that there's this matter of urgent public importance and you intend to make a statement on that matter. I have done it several times. And each time the Speaker will then say, go ahead, I will admit it. Then you rise up and pursuant to that order, you make the statement. Ideally, the statement should be in writing. But sometimes the matter is so urgent, you haven't written it down, but you go and confer with the Speaker. And then when the Speaker sees the urgency of the matter, the Speaker is convinced that it's a matter of urgent public importance, then he will give you leave. When you rise up, he will say, I gave this person leave. I gave this person leave to make a statement of urgent public importance or a matter that is personal to that person. That is how we have handled it in the past. So please, you can't just ambush the Speaker while he's sitting in the chair and then start narrating any wild story and say that you are laying the foundation. Meanwhile, that matter has become records of this House. That's why I insist, Mr. Speaker, that you must order that whatever they have said in relation to the subject matter is expunged from the records. Because they have no leave to make those statements. They have no leave to allow those matters to be captured in the records of the House. If you grant it, they can make the statement. If they make the statement, we'll all comment. We'll all comment on it. I am ready to comment on that statement.
Well. So, let me.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker,
honourable members, please. I'm allowing this because we are all learning from this, because it's becoming an issue. So it's not just because of today's issue. This thing is reoccurring. I want us to be clear about it, so that going forward, if you have any urgent issue, you know how to go about it. That's why I'm allowing this discussion. Yes,
Thank you very much.
Temple.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I have no doubt about the legal ingenuity of the distinguished gentleman and leader of the House, Member of Parliament for Boku. But on this occasion, Mr. Speaker, he refers us to Order 93.1. But the interpretation that he gives to Order 93.1 is restrictive. By his own reading, Mr. Speaker, and let me take you back with your indulgence again. By the indulgence of the House and leave of the Speaker, a member may explain a matter of personal nature or so it's disjunctive, Mr. Speaker, or make a statement on a matter of urgent public importance. So you don't necessarily have to come by way of statements. Mr. Speaker, the matter that we are talking about is a matter of urgent public nature. And it's a personal nature that we can relate to. Mr. Speaker, everyone knows in this country what happened yesterday. Mr. Speaker, tax raided the residence of the former Minister of Finance, and it's of a public nature. Today,
Honorable member,
the Office of the Special Prosecutor also granted a press conference and addressed the same matter. So, Mr. Speaker, it's not something that can be hidden. We have to discuss this matter, and I don't know what they are afraid of.
Honorable member.
In any event, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable member.
Mr. Speaker, in any event, they said that the rule says that the leave of the Speaker, the leave can be expressed or implied. And I take it that by the fact that you have granted the member for Tolong and Deputy Majority Chief Whip the opportunity to proceed, that means that you have impliedly granted him leave.
No, that is. I don't think that.
Mr. Speaker, that is the issue. So by implication, you have granted him leave. So the matter before this House is why the former Minister for Finance's home was raided. Any of us can be a victim to this situation. And we need to discuss it and put it on record. Thank you very much.
There's no doubt about that event. But me, I want the House to be clear with Order 93.1. That is my position.
Mr. Speaker,
that is my position. That's where I want us to discuss. That's why I'm giving this discussion.
I made the application, and let me clarify. Mr. Speaker, to clarify this application, even yesterday, similar application was made when the Speaker was presiding. It was yesterday. Under the same, he made the application. Honorable Nyaku made the application when the Speaker was presiding on the road toll matter under Order 93.1. The Speaker, you were here, the road minister was here yesterday, and then the Speaker granted that leave. Mr. Speaker, I seek your leave in my introduction.
Honorable member,
with your leave, and which leave, Parliament, we are governed by the Constitution,
let's move slowly.
And our practices. And yesterday, the same standing Order 93.1 was raised, and the Speaker granted it. And he raised the matter about the road toll that we were correcting on the vote and proceedings. So, Mr. Speaker, I am completely in place. I am not out of order. The majority leader ought to understand how I came by my application, to the effect that it's a matter of urgent public importance. And Mr. Speaker, if I don't lay the foundation, how will you know my matter is urgent?
No.
I need to lay the foundation.
You need to lay the foundation.
Then I can be able to now make my application properly. So is it the case that yesterday Mr. Speaker granted the same thing and today we are not granting it? I don't think so, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable members, you see, I just want the House to be very, very clear on this matter. Because Order 93, by the indulgence of the House, when you say by the indulgence of the House, it means at least both sides, the leadership, one, must be in agreement. Two, by the leave of the Speaker, it means at least the Speaker should be in the known. So I think you are aware of it. Honourable members, the exercise you are doing is good for the House. Nobody should take it. It's good for the House. We have to get our way clear on this. So, Leader.
Mr. Speaker, in all sincerity, while sitting there, he signaled me that I should check my phone. He's sending me a WhatsApp message. No, in all sincerity. No, I'm coming. We relate at that level. He signaled me that I should check my phone. And then when I checked, there was a message from him that he intends to raise the issue of the matter that they want to raise the issue of. And I said I didn't know anything about it. I told him that I didn't know anything about it. Then he sent me photographs and video. And whilst I was looking at the photographs and the video, then the deputy chief whip was already on his feet making the statement. Mr. Speaker, I am aware that he wants to raise the statement, but I haven't given indication whether I accept or I haven't accepted.
Mr. Speaker, I have been a former leader in this House. I noticed that on countless occasions this morning, our respected colleagues opposite got the mic and started speaking without your authority. I thought leaders are supposed to guide you. The last statement made by the deputy whip on the minority side, you did not give him the opportunity. Imagine if everybody started putting on their mics and speaking. Second, Mr. Speaker, let me remind him, nobody made any statement about road toll here yesterday. Go and check your own record. So your statement about road toll, I don't know where you got it from, because nobody made any statement. Mr. Speaker, whilst the respected leader was speaking, out of nowhere, he got up and mentioned my name, you, Kwame, and whatever. Mr. Speaker, I want to encourage you to caution him. Speaker, if the issue, and Mr. Speaker, you're going to allow me, I think it's a very important statement made by my colleague. I will seek your indulgence at the right time to explain to you how in 2017 the whole of Adaklu Kodiabe was raided by national security because I come from Adaklu Kodiabe. The whole town was raided by
Honourable Minister, please don't take us back.
I can even give you the name of the national security operative, Mr. Apia, caused Adaklu Kodiabe to be raided 2017. The whole town on lockdown. Because I'm a member of parliament from Adaklu, from Kodiabe, I will at the right time seek your indulgence to bring to you. So if today an individual, Ofori Atta, is raided, consider that versus the whole of Adaklu Kodiabe raided. Is the law only good when it comes to your side, Mr. Speaker? Raiding whether Ofori Atta or Adaklu Kodiabe illegally is wrong. But let them know that what is good for the goose is good for the gander. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable members, now my ruling. Yes, okay, you speak then now. Hold on. Yes, Nana, my ears out.
Mr. Speaker, thanks for this opportunity. Mr. Speaker,
sit down.
Mr. Speaker, we appreciate the fact that the interpretation of the standing orders lies in your bosom. We accordingly are grateful for the opportunity to contribute.
Sit down.
To contribute.
Sit down. You can't be standing like that.
We are accordingly.
You are already up.
We are accordingly grateful. We are accordingly grateful that we are accordingly grateful.
Honourable Andrew, please take your seat. You take your seat. Honourable Andrew, please take your seat.
We are accordingly grateful. We are accordingly grateful that Mr. Speaker is indulging our opinion before you give a ruling on this matter. Mr. Speaker, very respectfully, with the standing orders, there is one fact to it, which is that where timing is of essence, it says so. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, there are times when the standing orders require that prior notice is given. And where prior notice is not required, it's also stated. Mr. Speaker, in the specific matter of Order 93.1, Mr. Speaker would realize that it's an exceptional circumstance. It's an exceptional circumstance because, Mr. Speaker, it talks about the procedure for dealing with statements in the House. But when it comes to 93, it is a matter of notwithstanding 91 and 92. So, Mr. Speaker, 91 expressly states the procedure for adopting or dealing with statements in this House by the Speaker. 92 deals with ceremonial speeches. And then when you come to 93, it talks about by the indulgence of the House and the leader of the Speaker. In other words, with leave of the Speaker. In other words, notwithstanding the provisions of 91 and 92, Mr. Speaker, by the indulgence of the House and the leave of the Speaker, Mr. Speaker, a member may explain a matter of personal nature, which is that in urgent situations, Mr. Speaker, if the interpretation being put to it by the learned leader of the House, very respectfully, were to hold sway, it will mean that, Mr. Speaker, urgent matters cannot be dealt with unless we can get the attention of the leadership of the House. Mr. Speaker, in the circumstance of this matter, this is a matter which has just come to our attention. That is the matter of the raiding of the house of Mr. Ken Ofori Atta. Mr. Speaker, what time are we going to get to confer with the leadership of the majority? Mr. Speaker, how do we deal with urgent matters in the circumstance? Mr. Speaker, we are saying that, Mr. Speaker, if this interpretation were to be adopted, it would defeat the purpose of Order 93.1. Mr. Speaker, if the thinking of the framers of the law were that there should be prior agreement between leadership and prior leave of the Speaker, that would mean that, Mr. Speaker, the word prior would have been put there. There's nothing like that, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. I'll take the last one from Honorable James Agaga.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for the opportunity, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I think the matter that has caught our attention is what meaning we ought to place on Order 93. To do that, Mr. Speaker, I want to make it clear that we must read Article 93 as a whole to be able to construe its import. Now, the majority leader started off by making it very clear that the practice of the House in relation to statements of this nature that the Deputy Minority Whip attempted to make is that you'd engage with leadership and hold some prior consultation with Mr. Speaker. And when Mr. Speaker grants you leave, at that point, you can rise, and when Mr. Speaker allows you to make your statement, you proceed to make it. Now, Mr. Speaker, what is of particular importance is that my understanding of Order 93 as a whole, when read, is that the statement, no matter how urgent it is, must even be scripted. It must be scripted. And let me demonstrate that in a moment. Let me demonstrate that in a moment, Mr. Speaker. Let me read. 93 says, one says, by the indulgence. Mr. Speaker, do I have the floor? By the indulgence of the House and leave of the Speaker, a member may explain a matter of personal nature, and here the matter the minority whip attempted to make is not of a personal nature, or make a statement on a matter of urgent public importance. I think the matter is settled. It is of public urgent importance. Then 2 reads as follows. The proposed statement shall be admitted by the Speaker. Now 3, the text of the statement as admitted shall be read when a member is called upon to make the statement. Mr. Speaker, the point I'm making is that please. Mr. Speaker,
Wait for him.
Mr. Speaker, 3 talks about text.
You wait.
Well, let me read the 4. 4 says what? A statement other than a personal statement may be commented upon by other members for a limited duration of time, not exceeding 1 hour. This is about commentary. But Mr. Speaker, the 3 says the text, it talks about text, which means the statement must even be scripted. When the minority deputy whip stood up to make that statement, he was not reading from a script. So it is the script which is admitted by Mr. Speaker, which can only be read and commented upon. So let us not misconstrue the meaning of urgent public importance to mean that anybody can get up and take the House by surprise, ambush the House with a statement.
Well, honorable members, this is my ruling. This is my ruling. And I think the ruling should guide the House going forward for the good of all of us. Henceforth, I'm coming. You please allow me. Henceforth, any matter relating to Article Stand Orders 93, please, if you are a member, please discuss it with your leadership so that the leadership will also share with the other side. I don't think it's anything that is difficult. Then you should also share whatever you want to do with the presiding officer or the speaker, so that it will go with the standing order 93. So with this, hello, honorable members, with this, now I've taken judicial notice of the leave the member is trying to seek from the chair. The leave is granted now. But meanwhile, what he has already said, I will order that one to be expunged from the records, and now grant him the official platform to raise the issue. Please, are you listening to me? What I'm saying is what he has already said. I will order that is expunged from the official records, and now grant him the official floor to raise the issue. Now I've taken delivery of the notice. So that is my order. But henceforth, this is how we are going to go. If you are coming with any statement which is a statement you consider it to be urgent, please discuss with your leadership and share with the speaker, so that, yes, So let's go by that so that we avoid this. So now I grant you the floor to do that.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for
Leader. That is my.
Mr. Speaker, let me say that so far as I'm concerned, this side is not indulging them. This side is not indulging in this matter. So there's the issue of the requirement of indulgence of the House. And this side of the House is not indulging them to make this statement on the floor. We are not indulging them. We are not indulging them to make this statement. We are not. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, thank you for granting. Mr. Speaker, thank you for granting my leave
Hold on.
make this.
Honourable members. Yes.
Mr. Speaker, this is a house of records. I have paid attention to what is happening here this afternoon. Let it not favor somebody today to set a certain precedence in this house. Mr. Speaker, I have followed all the submissions of my respected leader. First, he raises an issue of procedure. You made a ruling. We know that when Mr. Speaker makes a ruling, the only way to challenge that ruling is to make a formal application. Mr. Speaker, he cannot on his feet pray for a variation of your order. If he says he wants to go strictly by the rules, we would indulge him. But let's be careful the kind of precedents we are setting, where some people will use some shouting and all that to sway the chair. Mr. Speaker, the precedents of this house, I remember in the matter of the vacant seats, Atta Forsen, minority leader as he then was, raised the matter. There was nothing scripted. He raised it because to him it was a matter of national importance. Mr. Speaker, indulged him. We debated. He, the majority leader himself, then contributed to the matter and did say that, in fact, the matter was of urgent national importance. Mr. Speaker, if today they want us to go into a certain arena of jurisprudence, I don't have a problem. Mr. Speaker, bullying is part of the game, but they should know that when it gets to them, they will also take it. Because they are smiling, I see them, they think that they are trying to sway you. Mr. Speaker, let us be careful the path we want to chart. I don't have a problem. In this game, you lose some, you gain some. I don't have a problem. But they should know that if today you now say that, with the leave of Speaker, when Mr. Speaker grants him leave, the man is about to read his statement, then you get up again, challenging Mr. Speaker, and then you want to arrest Mr. Speaker's ruling, then you now argue that with the indulgence. What is the meaning of indulgence? Does that mean that prior approval of members? What is indulgence? Look, Mr. Speaker, let Honorable Ayerga, the Harvard scholar, Mr. Speaker, this man is a Harvard scholar. He shouldn't introduce anything that will create problem for this house. What is indulgence? Is it now saying that indulgence means that if the other side of the house says they won't accept, you can't read? Mr. Speaker, be firm. You've granted him leave. You've said that the earlier submissions be expunged. We are not challenging you. Our friends must be tolerant. This is democracy. You are in majority, fine. But let us do the right thing. Let's do the right thing. Mr. Speaker, you've made your ruling. Your ruling stands. If he wants to challenge it, he should file an application. He should file an application. The majority leader cannot introduce his own form of jurisprudence to confuse this house. That is not the rule. That is not the law. And that is not the practice. Mr. Speaker, you've ruled, allow Honorable Habibi Idrisu to proceed.
Leader, let Habib, hold on. I will come to you. Hold on. Let me give the majority leader.
Mr. Speaker, I'm not challenging your decision. Your decision is to the effect that by Standing Order 93-1, by standing... Mr. Speaker, I am not challenging your ruling. Your ruling is to the effect that for a statement of urgent public importance to be made, there is a need for both sides of the House to have conferred and agreed. You said that. And then you also indicated that in future they should submit a copy or at least make known to the Speaker or the person presiding the content of the statement. So I'm simply pursuing your ruling to say that we have not yet indulged him. Because you are saying that there should be indulgence by both sides. I'm saying that we have not indulged him. Mr. Speaker, let me say that. You see, let's go back to the interpretation section. Let's go back to the interpretation section of the Standing Order. Order 6, which deals with the question of leave of the House. Page 5, leave of the House. Okay? Mr. Speaker, leave of the House. Listen to what it says. Leave of the House or any expression of similar import. Leave of the House or any expression of similar import. Leave of the House or any expression of similar import means permission or consent given by the House. So to say that the word indulgence of the House, leave of the House are of similar import. And so what our Standing Order says is that such matters must be with the consent of the House. But, Mr. Speaker, ordinarily, when it comes to statements, we always vest the discretion in the Speaker. We have never come to this House to say that we must grant leave before the Speaker admits a statement to be made. And I'm not about to begin that tradition. But Mr. Speaker, I have a problem with matters that are ordinarily the subject of press conferences to be made the business of this House. There are some matters that are press conference matters that you should deal with outside with the press as a press conference, not to make it the subject of debate in this House. Mr. Speaker, if they make a mistake and make a statement on Ken Ofori Atta in this chamber, you have no idea the commentary that will be run on Ken Ofori Atta in this chamber. Can you control the commentary that on this side of the House will run on Ken Ofori Atta? You would have exposed him to that. Because even today, when the Office of Special Prosecutor organized a press conference, they made some statements. They admitted that there were charges in relation to the man, that the man was under investigation. So, Mr. Speaker, I'm saying exactly what I said. Exactly what I said, Mr. Speaker. Don't expose the man. Don't expose the man. Don't make a statement on him, because the standing order says that.
Honorable Majority Leader, I could confer from what you are saying that now the indulgence of the House is now granted.
No, Mr. Speaker, I'm saying that we have always granted discretion to speakers.
Okay.
To admit statements,
okay,
and authorize statements to be made. We've always granted the discretion.
Well.
We are not about to stop it. But I'm warning that it is a very slippery ground, because the same standing order says that if it's a matter of urgent public importance, we have a right to comment on it. Do you want us to run a commentary on the man? That's the question.
Leader, I think there's a caution. If you are ready.
Mr. Speaker, the man himself is not here. The man himself, Ken Ofori Atta, is not here. They cannot grant consent to commentary being run on the man in the chamber. Ken Ofori Atta is not in this chamber. So you cannot make a statement on Ken Ofori Atta and expose him to commentary when he is not there. Unless Ken Ofori Atta is here to give a consent. He has to give consent. You cannot give consent that there should be commentary run on the man when he is not present to respond. And there are matters, Mr. Speaker, today I'm saying that the Office of Special Prosecutor said they are investigating the man. Do you want us to interfere with the investigation by running commentary on the man? Is that what you want us to do?
Well. Yes, Honorable Habib, if you are minded to raise your statement, you can go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, thank you for granting me the leave. Mr. Speaker, I rise to express my profound concern to formally condemn the recent action taken by the Office of the Special Prosecutor in declaring Mr. Ken Ofori Atta a wanted fugitive. The basis for this declaration rests solely on the assertion that Mr. Ken Ofori Atta has not responded to requests to appear before the OSP in person. However, evidence provided by his legal team representative equivocally demonstrate that Mr. Ken Ofori Atta is currently outside the country on a schedule and medical grounds. Mr. Speaker, the principle of natural justice and due process demand that the principle of natural justice and due process demand that before any declaration of a fugitive status is made, a full and thorough verification of the circumstances must be conducted. In this instance, the OSP failure to acknowledge the valid and documented explanation provided by Mr. Ofori Atta's legal team is alarming. Mr. Speaker, the omission not only undermines the right of an individual who has rendered distinguished service to our nation, but also calls into question the procedure with which our justice system is being administered. When the machinery of justice is allowed to operate without strict adherence to the established protocol, the risk of arbitrary and politically motivated occasion become all too real. Mr. Speaker, in both the adherence and the unjust, that such well-documented evidence has been disregarded. Mr. Speaker, the situation emphasized the importance of clear communication and coordination among the state institutions. Prior notification of his medical departure was not only a legal requirement, but also an act of transparency expected from the public figure. His adherence to the protocol should have been acknowledged and factored into any subsequent decision regarding his status. Instead, the OSP declared his generated unnecessary controversy and distraction at a time when the nation cannot afford such division. The misapplication of power in this instance serves a stark reminder of the danger adherence with exclusive agencies acts without sufficient oversight and accountability. Mr. Speaker, the implication of this incident extend beyond the individual involved. They strike at the very heart of our nation's commitment to justice, accountability, and the rule of law. When institutions like the OSP deviate from their mandate and operate in a matter that appears arbitrarily, they jeopardize our collective effort to build a society based on fairness and respect for the rights of all citizens. It is imperative that we, as members of our parliament, hold these agencies to the highest standard and ensure that every action taken in the name of justice is both transparent and justified. Mr. Speaker, in the case of the Republic versus Director of Prisons, the Court of Appeal of Ghana reaffirmed that the principle that no person should be subjected to unlawful detention or unjust treatment at the hands of the state. The court held that the exercise of the state authority must be guided by fairness, legally and due process. Any deviation from the principle amounts to an abuse of power and violation of the rights of the individual. Mr. Speaker, the House must use this opportunity to reinstate our collective responsibility to ensure no public official, whether current or former, is unfairly targeted or subjected to actions that undermine the legal right. Let us be clear. The pursuit of justice must always be balanced with respect for the process, and any deviation from the principle can have far-fetching consequences on our democracy. Mr. Speaker, we must stand united in our resolve to protect the integrity of our legal institution and to ensure that every individual is treated fairly under the law. In conclusion, Mr. Speaker, I reinstate my call for accountability and transparency. The actions taken by the OSP in this matter are deeply troubling, and the actions also taken by governments are deeply troubling. They must be addressed with the utmost. Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, I reinstate my call for accountability and transparency. The action taken by government are deeply troubling, and they must be addressed with utmost agency.
We owe it to our citizens and to the legacy of our nation's commitment to justice to ensure that such abuses of power are not repeated. Mr. Speaker, I urge my fellow members of Parliament to join me in condemning the actions of government and the state authorities, and no current or formal appointee of any government should go through such an ordeal. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable members. Honorable members, this is a statement on our own member who used to be a former member, former Minister of State. So I think I am going to be guided by 93(5) that nobody is going to be allowed to speak more than 5 minutes, and the comment should not generate debate. Honorable members, I'm going by our own standing orders. I am going by our own standing orders, and I'm going to take 3 from each side. 3 from each side. Then I'll give the leadership 1, 2, 3 leadership, 3 leadership.
Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, we have 10 members on this side. We have 10 members on this side ready to comment. We have 10 members on this side ready to comment. 10, yes. No, 10, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, 10 people.
Leader, I can take 10.
If they don't have anybody who wants to comment, that is up to them. But we have 10 people who want to comment. I caution you, Mr. Speaker. I caution you. And he said that he was ready for it. So 10 people will comment on this side.
Yeah, he said he was ready.
You said you were ready?
Yeah.
Well, I will vary my orders. I'll give 5 each, including leadership. 5 including leadership. So I'll begin with Honorable John Jinapo. Not more than 5 minutes, please.
Mr. Speaker, let me thank you for this opportunity. Mr. Speaker, let me start with a Ghana Web report. And it is dated, Mr. Speaker, 2017, Friday, 28th July 2017. AK-47 wielding corps raid John Jinapo's home. Mr. Speaker, 5 police officers believed to be from the National Security on Friday raided the home of former Deputy Power Minister, Mr. John Jinapo, in search of documents related to the controversial $550 Ameri deal. Mr. Speaker, this very house, this very house approved the Ameri deal. Mr. Speaker,
what is it?
Speaker, I thank you. Earlier on, I had tried to catch your attention. I think it's important we set the parameters right. Let it go into the records that nobody's afraid of this subject matter. And the leader says that he's cautioning. Nobody's afraid. Nobody has anything to hide. Now, the point I want to make is that, Speaker, yes, when we are debating, we make reference to other sources of information. Let it be put on record that any matter that anybody wants to reference, it should be tabled. It should be tabled. Speaker, if our colleague has some source of information, let that information be tabled before you can proceed on same subject matter. You can just get up and say that Ghana Web. Table it. Let him table it. No, he should table it. Anybody gets up and say Ghana Web, he should table it. Speaker, I insist. Let him table it. Then he can take his source serious.
Honorable John Jinapo.
Mr. Speaker.
You've already spent 1 minute.
Mr. Speaker, that's most unfair. That's most unfair. I mean, you can't do this to me, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, you are a leader. And you should know that when something is public record, especially in this house, we do not tender any evidence. Professor Mike Okwe, then Speaker, made a ruling on the matter in this chamber. You were seated here. Professor Mike Okwe wrote to the CID in respect of this matter. And so what other evidence do you want me to tender when it's captured in the Hansard? Anything captured in the Hansard, you don't tender any evidence. Mr. Speaker, I am saying that on that fateful day, Mr. Speaker, on that fateful day, when my house was raided by AK-47 wielding national security operatives, when they banged on my door, creating fear and panic, sending my 6-year-old child into a state of hysteria, into a state of fear. We had members here. They never commented on it. And I commend Professor Michael Kwe on that day when he stood up and ruled that what they were doing was wrong. Mr. Speaker, they took my phone, they took my laptops, and took it to the United Kingdom to investigate me. Today, a very simple matter. You are scared of it. Mr. Speaker, let me explain something. The OSP has declared Mr. Ofori Atta as a fugitive. As a fugitive. Mr. Speaker, in our local language, fugitive, in our local language, it means that wadenuwa kangura. Or, to put it simply, wajibam. Or in the Hausa language, otilo. Or to put it in a more simpler way, yagudu. It's as simple as that, Mr. Speaker. But Mr. Speaker, we should not be afraid of accountability. As public officials, when they took my laptop, it got to a point they couldn't even open the iPhone. I told them I was willing to come and use my fingerprint. It was then and there that they told me that the phones had been taken to the United Kingdom. I had to give them the password. Eventually, the very America that I was accused of, a minister was dismissed because it came here padded by almost $800 million. Mr. Speaker, on this auspicious day, on this day of reckoning, on this day of accountability, the only thing I can say is that we wish the man in white,
5 minutes.
the best of luck.
It's up.
But Mr. Speaker,
5 minutes is up.
The finance minister should come here and settle the scores as well as
5 minutes is up.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker.
Yes. Honorable member for Bimbila, you have 5 minutes.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much for the opportunity. Mr. Speaker, we are building a democracy. The honorable member who just spoke said gun-wielding policemen raided his home. That is what a democracy is. Police people My brother, you don't use soldiers to raid somebody's home in a democracy. Yes. Sit down. I will wait. I will wait.
Honorable members, honorable members, honorable members, I am not giving the floor to anybody on point of order. Please.
Mr. Speaker.
Please, let's tolerate each other, please.
Mr.
Yes.
Speaker. Mr. Speaker, let them be informed. Let them who stand up be informed that by 4 a.m. on the 7th of this, January, there was no defense minister in Ghana. Let them be informed. Let them be informed. Let them be informed that nobody in Ghana. Let them be informed. Tell the gentleman. Tell the gentleman here that he's just been nominated Deputy Minister of the Republic of Ghana. You are no more in a position to be shouting. Respect yourself. You are in government. You are in government today. Mr. Speaker, let them know that by 4 a.m., when soldiers and police entered here to keep order, there was no Minister of Defense in Ghana. Be educated yourselves. Mr. Speaker, I still want to repeat. Let me repeat to my colleague. Let me repeat to my colleague that in a democracy, you do not use soldiers to raid somebody's home, especially when that person has told you, that I am not in the country and I'll report when I get back. Ofori Atta wrote to the OSP that, look, I am not in the country, I've received the invitation and I will come back and report to you for any investigation. You have no right, Mr. Speaker, you have no right to send soldiers to raid a man's house when he's not there. When he has told you that I will come, I'm out of the country. It is worse than armed robbery. In fact, to the extent that I have seen pictures of Richard Jakpa, who has just been forgiven of his sins, raiding somebody else's house. What business has that man in the house of a man who is supposed to be traveled outside? This is not the democracy we are building.
Thank you.
It is wrong for John Mahama, who just won an election, to try to use soldiers to intimidate people.
Thank you very much.
We will not agree today.
Thank you
we
very
will not
much.
agree tomorrow. We are not cowards.
Thank you. Thank you.
We will account to anybody who wants us to account.
Thank you very much. Now, yes.
Mr. Speaker, the former defense minister, in his concluding statement, mentioned one Mr. Jakpa and said that somebody who has just been forgiven of his sins. Mr. Speaker, he has never proven that the guy committed a sin. He has never proven that the man committed a sin. So you cannot say that somebody who has just been forgiven of his sins, nobody forgave him of any sin because nobody proved any sin. So, Mr. Speaker, the man is not here. He should withdraw that part of his statement. He should withdraw that part of his statement.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, the case against Richard Jakpa, the appeal, and the current finance minister was withdrawn by the current president. The appeal was withdrawn by the current president. Allow the court to deal with the matter. Allow the court to deal with the matter. And let's see whether you have sins or you don't have sins. Allow the court to deal with the matter.
So
Mr. Speaker, allow the court to deal with the matter. And let's see whether there are sins or there are not sins.
So have you...
But if you want me to withdraw the word forgive, I'll withdraw that word. But I say to you that allow the courts to decide whether a man is guilty or not.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Now, Honorable Member for Bolgatanga, is it Central or Central? Yes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I am very sad that in our country, the biggest perceived enemy of our economy is being defended the way my colleagues are doing. And everybody knows. And everybody knows. No. Everybody knows. Everybody knows.
Honorable Adongo. Honorable Adongo. How did you come by that?
Mr.
That
Speaker,
is the biggest.
Mr. Speaker, if that makes him happy, I withdraw.
Please, just withdraw. Honorable members.
Yes, the truth.
Honorable members, please. Honorable members, please, let's be guided by our own standing orders. This comment should not generate any debate. So please, let's make a statement that will invite no other person to come and challenge your statement. Please, let's be straightforward.
Mr. Speaker, you allowed very contentious, debatable issues to be raised here. And you are now asking me to respond to debatable argument without debate? Is that what you are saying? You admitted all that debatable documents that he presented here. But I want to say that if you are a Ghanaian and you respect yourself, Ghana has gone into debt restructuring and embarrassed globally. Who did that? Ken Ofori Atta did that. The Ghanaians who bought our bonds, went through a DDEP. Who did that? Ken Ofori Atta. And so, if you get up to defend this person who has robbed us of our peace and happiness, and you expect me to debate this in a manner that is not debatable, I beg to differ. But Mr. Speaker, the truth is that the OSP has made it very clear that the state did not send anybody to Ken Ofori Atta's house, and that was staged by Ken Ofori Atta's own people.
Hold on. Yes, Minority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, with respect, let the records reflect that this side of the House brought this matter up, questioning the mode of the action taken by state security operatives. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, the argument being made by my colleague is to the effect that the man has committed some crimes and we are defending. Mr. Speaker, let it be known by him. Let it be known by him that as he is now in this chamber, he's aspiring into public office. He's seriously lobbying to be made a deputy minister. Mr. Speaker, he has not even been recognized. It is some of these unguarded statements. That is why he has not been recognized. Mr. Speaker, we are talking about the mode of the raid, the arrest. We are not saying that if the state has evidence against Ken Ofori Atta, you shouldn't try him.
Very well.
Mr. Speaker, if indeed there is an issue against him, the state can try him. then he can have access to his lawyers.
Leader.
But you cannot accuse him that the man is guilty.
Leader, I'll come to you. Because you have your time so that you can address all these things, please.
Mr. Speaker, he has to withdraw that part of the submission.
Leader, which part?
These are my views.
Okay, go on.
Yeah, they are my views. The minority leader doesn't tell me what to say in this house. He doesn't dictate to me what I say in this house. And I'm saying that when, as a government, you decided to violate the Public Financial Management Act with impunity, this day was coming, and it has arrived. The Public Financial Management Act is very clear. The Public Financial Management Act is very clear that you cannot commit this state to a multi-year contract without the Minister for Finance, himself issuing a commencement certificate. And yet, after he issued a commencement certificate, he was still drawing on contingency fund as if he didn't know about the project. And he thought that you could do that as long as you want. But the subject is that the OSP has spelled out the reasons why he's looking for him. And I'm discussing what the OSP is calling him for. That when he decided to engage in multi-year transactions and refused the approval of Parliament, knowing very well the implications in the Public Financial Management Act, he knew that he would answer for it one day. And that you are now asking us to do what? Not to discuss a fugitive. We shouldn't discuss a fugitive. Is that what you're asking? Or to clean him up even though he's a fugitive? So when you came here, you knew that the product you are selling, you could not sell it. And we warned you. We warned you and you did. You can warn me as long as you want. But the important thing is that the OSP has stated.
Thank you.
The OSP has stated that he didn't send anybody to House. Why are you running away? Why are you running away?
Honorable Osenyako.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, I have come in peace. I have come in peace.
You've come in peace.
Mr. Speaker,
you said you've come in peace.
Yes.
Very well. Let's listen to you.
God willing, Ghana will be 68 years this year. Mr. Speaker, we have seen government change all the time. Mr. Speaker, the wrong yesterday is not right today. If we are building a society, if we are building a country, if we are building a nation, Mr. Speaker, we cannot and we should not allow some of these ills to go on in our society. All of us sitting here, we are politicians. All of us. Tomorrow, it could be you. Today, you think it is Mr. Ken Ofori Atta, so it is okay. I will speak against it if it was meted to you. The fact that similar issue or same thing was done in 2017 doesn't mean that we should repeat same this time. You should listen to me. Mr. Speaker, I am sad. I am sad for Mother Ghana. I am sad for we as a politician because
Tomorrow, it will be your turn. And I cannot sit because I'm in the opposite side, so I'll sit down and watch you be treated this way. Mr. Speaker, if you want to build a nation, if you want to build a democracy, let us use the laid down procedures. I am not speaking to shield anybody. The laws are clear that if anybody is found guilty of committing any crime, there are laid down procedures to deal with such matters. We don't use a Rambo style action to go to somebody's house. I have just a caution. I have a message for the president. President Mahama should listen to me. Mr. President, Ghanaians voted for you massively so that you come and unite this country.
Thank you.
They did not vote for you to come and divide this country.
Thank you.
If he want to leave a legacy long after he has leave his office, then I am begging him that he should use the laid down procedure to address some of these matters.
Thank you, honorable member.
And stop the buga buga.
Thank you so much.
To help this country. Thank you.
Thank
Mr.
you
Speaker.
so much. Let me come to Bola Bamboy.
I'm very grateful for this opportunity. Mr. Speaker, I am one of those who believe that what is wrong yesterday is also wrong today. What I've read is that the OSP has said that the raiding that we are all talking about is something that was staged. I listened to him. And so for me, for us to use this precious time discussing something that has been staged, then I think that we need to have a second look at what we are doing. Mr. Speaker, I listened to my senior brother, the former Minister for Defense, and I was a bit sad. I followed you and the former Minister for Interior, and my good friend and brother, the former Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, and also Honorable Kandapa. The four of you, I follow you from outside here on that fateful day, and I dove my cap for Honorable Kandapa when he shouted, "Don't let them enter, don't let them enter, don't let them enter." You shouted, "Let them enter, let them enter, let them enter." And they entered. Mr. Speaker, he's now telling.
Mr. Speaker, first of all, I want him to know, and he knows me very well, that where I come from, I'm not a coward. I can never be a coward. He knows that where I come from, I can't be a coward. I will never be a coward. Otherwise, I cannot go home. And Mr. Speaker, I want to repeat that I am not a coward. I can never be a coward, otherwise I cannot go home. He knows where I come from. And let me tell you, you have no evidence.
Thank you.
Not a single shred of evidence. And I want him to withdraw that statement because it's a direct attack on my person, on my family, my tribe, where I come from, and you are putting people in danger for no reason. If you don't have any evidence, withdraw it. It's very unfortunate that you will make a statement against Ambrose. He's not here to defend himself. Make a statement against me, and I can defend myself. It's wrong. You have no evidence. You heard it. You heard it. It's very unfortunate. Do you even know when the soldiers came? Do you know where I was?
Honorable members.
When the soldiers came in, do you even know where I was that day? Do you know where I was?
Honorable members.
If you are using soldiers to intimidate Ghanaians, including myself.
Honorable.
If you are using soldiers to intimidate Ghanaians, including myself, chasing my car, that is not democracy. That is not democracy. You use soldiers to chase me. That is not democracy. That is not democracy. Don't accuse me. You have no evidence. Withdraw it.
Well, honorable members, I will see the seat to the first deputy speaker. Meanwhile, you may continue. Honorable member, you may go on. Honorable Yusuf, you may go on.
Mr. Speaker, I started by saying that the defense minister is my brother. And indeed, I know where he's coming from. Where he's coming from, that is where I'm coming from. We are brothers. We are the same people. And so I was shocked that day when he was the one ushering in the military men to come and kill his own brothers. Mr. Speaker, he's saying that there was no democracy at that time, and that there was no government in place, and that he wasn't the minister at that time. And so whatever happened, he wasn't bothered. This is what he just said. Mr. Speaker, the very people who did that are still in the system. I want to call on you. On this day, we have their pictures to order an investigation so that we will get to the bottom of this issue. But I am a Muslim and a serious and pious Muslim. And the last thing I will do is to tell lies on my own brother. I have said what we call the kalima. I believe in Allah. I believe in his prophets. And the next thing to believe in is to ensure that I don't tell lies on respected people like my brother. I'm only putting it on record that on that day, I followed you. My brother, Honorable Abu Jinapo, Honorable Ambrose Derry, and Honorable Kandapa, from the start here, down up to this point, when Honorable Kandapa insisted, don't let them enter, don't let them enter, don't let them enter, and you said they should enter. Indeed, they entered. You followed them. Mr. Speaker, what I want you to do is to call for the video. Call for the video. He wants me to come with evidence. Call for the video. And you will see him ushering in the military men. On this note, Mr. Speaker, I am calling for an independent investigation to ensure that whatever happened that day, we get the truth of it. And once we get the truth of it, he will cease to call on evidence. Thank you.
But Mr. Speaker, somebody has accused me.
Yes, honorable member.
Somebody has accused me that I brought soldiers to come and kill.
You don't have the floor. Resume your seat. Please resume your seat. Honorable Nitiwul, resume your seat. Honorable member, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker.
Honorable member, hold it.
Mr. Speaker.
Honorable members, let's remind ourselves about Order 129 and conduct business
in an orderly manner. I will not hesitate to apply the rules. Honourable Member, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I mean, members in this House who have followed my proceedings or my actions in the media will certainly know that I was one of the few MPs who stood up and said that Ken Ofori Atta must go. And so I'm not here to defend Ken Ofori Atta. But, Mr. Speaker, we need to ensure that as a country, the rule of law always reigns supreme. I am a bit surprised that the members in the NDC are today defending actions that yesterday they were crying over. In fact, I heard my good friend John Jinapo, I also heard Kwame Agoja make claims that in 2017 their houses were raided at that clue and all of that. Is that justification why we should allow same to be repeated this time? The Speaker, when
Honourable members, I said order.
When His Excellency John Dramani Mahama was campaigning, he said he was going to reset Ghana. Is that the reset we are seeing today? Is this the reset we are seeing today? That lawlessness is taking supreme over everything that we do in this country? That today Richard Jakwa can walk into the houses of Ken Ofori Atta and raid the house and be picking documents when he has no warrant. Mr. Speaker, today the OSP, we all heard him, and the OSP declared Ken Ofori Atta as a fugitive. Mr. Speaker, I'm wondering the legal basis for the OSP to declare Ken Ofori Atta as a fugitive. Mr. Speaker, a fugitive is someone who has escaped from custody or is evading a lawful arrest warrant. What warrant does the OSP has? That today the OSP will be saying that Ken Ofori Atta has escaped from this country. We all know that the finance minister, one of the reasons why he had to quit his job was that he was not feeling well. And so if the man travels out of this country for medical reasons, and knowing very well, when there has been enough communication between the OSP and Ken Ofori Atta, and you take this press conference just to embarrass the man, I am sharply the OSP, and declare the man as a fugitive. That is what John Jinapo said. Leader, you said nothing about it. John Jinapo said the man has been declared as a fugitive. And you know the definition of a fugitive. As Ken Ofori Atta.
Honourable Member, I recognize the Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, we need to be cautious. The honourable member who just spoke said the OSP organized a press conference to embarrass the former finance minister. Mr. Speaker, this House should not interfere in the work of the OSP. We should not intimidate the OSP. And secondly, Mr. Speaker, the former defense minister said soldiers were sent to the residence of the former finance minister. Mr. Speaker, nobody has tendered evidence in this chamber that soldiers were sent. Mr. Speaker, they are talking about one Mr. Jakwa. The man is not a soldier. The man is retired. He left the army. And he is an officer, I believe, of national security of the state. So please, let's not sit here and say things that would dent the image of the men and officers of the Ghana Armed Forces in uniform. So let's be careful. Let's be careful when we say that soldiers were sent, because no soldier was sent to the residence of the defense minister. Mr. Speaker, please, let's be cautious.
Honorable Minority Leader, I recognize Honorable Majority Leader on a point of order. Are you also on a point of order against the point of order?
Mr. Speaker, with the greatest respect, take it easy. He didn't say he was up on a point of order. Mr. Speaker, he didn't say so. He didn't say so. And please, he made an intervention for the good of us. I am back on the same level, please. Mr. Speaker, I agree with the Honorable Leader of the House that we should tread cautiously. Rightly so. But, Mr. Speaker, we have heard a colleague make a statement for Hansard that the respected senior member sent soldiers here to kill us. Those were the words. Mr. Speaker, in the same spirit, we need to be careful. Two, I have publicly acknowledged the diplomacy of the majority leader, and I have no reason to doubt him. But I always act in good faith. I shared with him, although private, but I will tender it since it has been raised. Videos of soldiers in uniform raiding the residence of Mr. Ofori Atta. Mr. Speaker, indeed, he is right in saying that the man being spoken about as the one leading the team is now a civilian. That is true. Mr. Richard Jakwa, who works with national security, and indeed the one who led the soldiers, is a state security operative. But, Mr. Speaker, the point is very clear. Are
you very sure that it's a state security operative?
Mr. Speaker, he says so. It's not coming from me. He confirmed. These are the words of the majority leader. It's not mine.
This is Japan.
That is what, so, Mr. Speaker, yes, he has confirmed. He says he is a state security operative. It's not coming from me. Mr. Speaker, I have shared the videos with him. And I was fair in my dealings with him by saying that this is a matter that I want to raise. So, Mr. Speaker, let us be guided by what he has just told us and allow our colleague to proceed. I have gotten a signal from my respected colleague who has just been nominated as a deputy minister that he wants to withdraw that aspect of the submit. Oh, he says so, please. It's not, Mr. Speaker, I will not impose anything on him. He signaled that in view of the caution from the leader, he wants to withdraw. If he wants to, that is his matter. I am only telling Mr. Speaker, that's the signal he's giving me. Mr. Speaker, let's be fair with each other. This democracy that you are celebrating today.
Honorable Minority Leader, conclude.
Mr. Speaker, I'm concluding. Mr. Speaker, once upon a time, we had 169 seats in this house. You have made it, enjoy it, but let us be mindful. Let us be mindful that we are a family. I told us once some weeks ago that let us learn from the Jinapo brothers. I rest my case.
Thank you, Honorable Member, Honorable Sule.
Oh,
I'll give you the floor. Honorable Nyindam, resume your seat. Honorable Sule, you have the floor.
Speaker, I'm grateful for this opportunity to withdraw the words he brought in military to kill his brothers. My understanding of the role of the military is that they are trained to kill. That's where I was coming
Honorable
from.
Suleiman.
So I withdraw.
Honorable Suleiman. Are you withdrawing?
So I'm withdrawing.
Are you withdrawing? Or what are you doing?
Unreservedly. He's my brother, and I will not do anything to hurt him. So I withdraw them. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable members, Statement accordingly withdrawn. Order. Honourable member, conclude. You have 2 more minutes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Chiwete, can we have some order?
Mr. Speaker, see how pleasant it is that as brothers we are able to understand each other. That should be the spirit that we carry on in the administration of government. Mr. Speaker, we all have a right, and Chapter 5 of the Constitution guarantees our right as citizens. In fact, Mr. Speaker, if you look at Article 14 of our Constitution, it is very clear. It is very clear that no person shall be deprived of their liberty except in accordance with the rule of law. Mr. Speaker, the rate and the style, the Rambo style at which they invaded Ken Ofori Atta's house. This morning, my little daughter came to me and she was asking me, Daddy, is Ghana at war? Then I asked her, why? Mommy, why? Why? What is happening? Then she was like, Daddy, get on social media.
Honourable member,
look at how military
I am not supposed to be interrupting you. You quoted a constitutional provision that we need to act in accordance with the law. Are we going to be able to establish whether they have acted in accordance with law or not? Is this House going to establish whether they have acted in accordance with law or not, having regard to the fact that justice emanates from the people of Ghana and it is exercised on their behalf by the judiciary?
Mr. Speaker, it is very clear. It is very clear that from all the statements we have read from the OSP, there's no warrant. People invaded the houses of Ken Ofori Atta. Today, even the OSP that we all thought that led that attack is even running away from the fact that he led those attacks to Ken Ofori Atta's house. Mr. Speaker, today we have a former military person who has been caught on video, clear video, evading the house of Ken Ofori Atta. Mr. Speaker, that should not happen. I'm saying that.
Honourable member, did I hear you say he's running away from the facts? He made a categorical statement that the people are imposters.
Who made that statement?
And he didn't authorize them.
Well,
and so, you said he's running away from that particular fact, as if he authorized them and now running away from them.
Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, I appreciate your guidance. I appreciate your guidance. But, Mr. Speaker, we are all in the media space. We know what is happening. We know what people are saying. I am saying that this morning, newspapers carried that the OSP, in fact, the Herald newspaper carried that the OSP is the one that undertook this exercise. In his press conference, it denies that fact. It denies that fact. All I'm telling my colleagues is that we live in a country where a president has been given over 56% of votes. He promised, now come and sit down, Kwame, sit down. It doesn't matter. Give him 100%. He promised Ghanaians that he's going to reset the entire system. But, Mr. Speaker, today what we see in administration, in the administration of the NDC, it's more like a coup d'etat had happened in Ghana.
Honourable member, conclude.
Being raided, and all of that. Mr.
Honourable member, conclude.
Letters are being issued sacking civil servants in our country. Something we have not seen before. Even directors of companies are being sacked. Mr. Speaker, directors of companies are being sacked.
Honourable member, your time is up.
Mr. Speaker,
I proceed to give the floor to Honourable James Agalga.
Mr. Speaker, in conclusion.
Honourable member, resume your seat, please.
4 minutes. Mr. Speaker,
please resume your seat.
You took all my
Honourable
time.
James Agalga, you have the floor.
Mr. Speaker, the statement made by the Deputy Minority Whip was made in the realm of the purported violation of the rights of the former finance minister. If my understanding of that statement serves me right, Mr. Speaker, then of course we have reason to ask ourselves, which of the human rights provisions enshrined in Chapter 5 of the 1992 Constitution has been violated? That is the question. The maker of the statement cited a judicial decision in support of the statement. Now, that particular judicial decision, I didn't hear him well, but he mentioned Director of Prisons. That particular judicial decision relates to fair trial principles. But, Mr. Speaker, in the case of the Minister for Finance, he is not on trial. And so the principles enshrined in Article 19 of the Constitution will not apply to him for now. The closest we can come to, Mr. Speaker, in terms of the human rights provisions in our Constitution, would be Article 15 of our Constitution. And Mr. Speaker, I will take you through Article 15. And I expect, with the greatest of respect, the minority leader to respect the fact that I am truly a human rights advocate, and he can bear testament to that fact. So let him not interrupt me when I am advancing my arguments.
Honourable Member, you are not interrupted in any manner. Address the chair.
Article 15 of our Constitution talks about the respect for human dignity. And this is what it says. The dignity of all persons shall be inviolable. 2, no person shall, whether or not he is arrested, restricted, or detained, be subjected to A, torture, or other cruel, inhuman, or degrading treatment or punishment. B, any other condition that detracts or is likely to detract from his dignity and worth as a human being. It goes on and on and on, but those are the relevant provisions I want to relate to. Mr. Speaker, the question is, Honorable Ken Ofori Atta has not been arrested. He's not in the custody of the police. So how do we start talking about a violation of his right to human dignity? The steps that have so far been taken by the special prosecutor.
Honorable Stephen Amwa, let's listen to him in silence.
Mr. Speaker, the steps that have so far been taken by the special prosecutor is in accordance with law as prescribed under Article 18 of our Constitution. That same Article 18, Mr. Speaker, talks about the right to property and the fact that it shouldn't be interfered with, your property rights, your home, etc., etc. But Article 18 comes with an exception, where the state security apparatus decides to act in prevention of crime or in detection and punishment for crime, an exception is created under Article 18. So the question we should be asking ourselves is, even granted, assuming without admitting, that security agents stormed the house of Ken Ofori Atta, we should be asking ourselves, did they obtain a warrant from court? Did they obtain a warrant from court? I think our colleagues on the other side should file an urgent question and determine for themselves whether they acted with a warrant or without a warrant before they draw certain conclusions. Now, Mr. Speaker, the special prosecutor has spoken. He says he extended an invitation to Ken Ofori Atta, and his lawyers offered to present themselves for questioning. And he said, no, lawyers are not the subject of the investigation. So he wants to talk to Ken Ofori Atta himself. Could this be the reason why agents of our state security apparatus stormed his home? Mr. Speaker, let me remark that when Honorable John Dinapo's home was stormed, there was no prior invitation extended to him by any state security agency mandated to investigate any matter. Likewise, the home of Dominic Ayene, the current Attorney General, was stormed, equally stormed. What was his crime? His crime was that he only wrote a legal opinion. A legal opinion. A legal opinion warranted the storming of his home without a prior invitation from the police. These are the facts we should compare and contrast. And so, having said that, I did indicate that I, as a lawyer, a human rights advocate,
conclude,
who was struggling to establish for myself which of the provisions of our Constitution have been violated, I found none. Ofori Atta can submit himself to the law for purposes of investigation, and when there are violations, I'll be the first to speak for and on his behalf. Not until then. He should be law-abiding, come back home, and engage with the special prosecutor so that the allegations that have been leveled against him can be dealt with. Thank you for the opportunity, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. Your time is up. Honorable Stephen Amwa. Honorable Stephen Amwa, before you start, let me remind the entire House that we are operating within the ambit of Standing Order 93.5. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to make it emphatically clear that Ken Ofori Atta hasn't run away. Mr. Speaker, I would like to advise this August House that I think our actions and omissions over the years have actually defined us, and we have given the public, the external stakeholders, to always see us in different lenses. And it is time we put an end to what we are doing to each other. Mr. Speaker, some of the descriptions they're giving, some even went to the extent of saying that the economy that he left, in fact, I cannot repeat those evil words they use in-house. Mr. Speaker, 2016, the economic Ken Ofori Atta inherited was growing at 3.4%. Mr. Speaker, the inflationary rate was 15.4. Mr. Speaker, lending rate was about 40%. But for COVID, by 2019, we were growing 7%. Inflation was 7%. Under Ofori Atta, we have been able to implement one of the most enviable pro-poor policies on the continent of Africa. How could you describe such a man because of global crisis? Your own former finance minister, do you know the description you are giving to your country? Do you know how you are placing Ghana on the globe because of politics? Do you know what you are doing to your country? Very soon, your ministers will be leaving Ghana for other places, for international assignments. And this is what they will read from your own lips. Mr. Speaker, we shouldn't allow this outmoded, colloquial, primitive politics to continue to destroy our country. Mr. Speaker, we are one people with one destiny as a nation. Mr. Speaker, I am only advising the House.
Honorable Stephen Amwa, did I hear you say primitive politics?
No, I'm talking about Ghana.
Will you consider withdrawing the word primitive politics?
Okay. Mr. Speaker, with your indulgence, I have done so. But Mr. Speaker, I think I have to make myself clearer here. I am not even speaking against one side. I am talking about actions and inactions, omissions and behaviors that are dwindling the very reputation of this House.
We've been doing this to ourselves for far too long. Now, every Tom, Dick, and Harry out there, even if you are driving Land Cruiser, they think you're a politician. Whether NDC MPP, they don't respect us. And this is why I'm bringing it to our attention. That do we allow yesterday's propaganda or actions or omissions to continue to keep on destroying the very image and reputation of this August House? Is that what we want to do? This is the question I'm asking. Mr. Speaker, are we teaching the younger generation what we are doing today? Mr. Speaker, what does the Constitution say? Article 18, Clause 2. With your permission. A. No one shall be subjected to the interference of his private home and properties. Has that happened or not? The very Constitution that we ourselves, the very laws that we ourselves made, we are undermining the same laws because of politics. We should not sit here and because of politics forget the fact that the same kind of Ofori Atta made your family members have free school. Your nephews, your children, your aunties, your friends, your mosque members, your church members. But for Ofori Atta, they would have been home. Let us stop these things against either NDC or MPP. Let us maintain our reputations as a house. Let us believe in one fact that we are one people with a common destiny as a country. All these things we must stop. That is what I mean. Yesterday's politics we should forget. Because we are destroying each other. And we call ourselves honorable members. We all deserve that. But please, Mr. Speaker, what I'm trying to tell the House is that sometimes, because of politics, we say these things, we think we are joking. But those out there, they believe in what we say and they disrespect all of us. Let us protect each other. Let us keep the dignity of this house intact and portray to the people out there that, yes, we have changed. Mr. Speaker, I am ending by telling each and everyone, especially my brothers and sisters from the other side, to repent. To repent. These behaviors must be stopped. We don't do that to ourselves. Look at Honorable Agoja, very respectable. Our leader, respectable. We are all respectable members. But because of politics, as you call you thief, you are this, you are that. And when you go out there, you want people to respect us. I think this should be the last time for all of us. Let us show love and constructive discussions. Constructive conflict. Conflict C-type, not A-type.
All member conclude.
Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, I would like to re-emphasize the point that Ken Ofori Atta, until proven guilty by court of competent jurisdiction, cannot be described and defined as somebody who is criminal. Thank you very much.
I proceed to give the floor to Kwame Jijoli Gakpe.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me the opportunity. Mr. Speaker, the Honorable Ken Ofori Atta is not above the law. He is not above the law. And then when the special prosecutor, they read the statement today, he is talking about the cathedral. They mentioned cathedral issue. They mentioned SML issues. Those are the issues the special prosecutor is investigating. When they call upon Honorable Ken Ofori Atta to avail himself to the authorities to do the needful, he sent lawyers. And the lawyers they want to represent him. Where is Ken Ofori Atta? He's outside this country. We call upon our former finance minister to do the needful and come back to Ghana and do the needful. This is about public money. It's not personal money. He's not above the law. The security agencies went to the house lawfully. What we should be looking at is that we should inquire as a house whether they have search warrant to go to Honorable Ken Ofori Atta's home. It's not about wearing white dresses. So nobody is above the law. When you hold public office, you need to be what? Accountable.
the day of accountability have arrived. We were in this country. John Jinapo's home was raided. Former Attorney General's home was raided by the military people. Members were invaded in this chamber. At that time, we don't have the locus to say and condemn it. Today we have the moral temerity, the audacity to say that it is wrong. You have the moral ground to talk. You didn't know the day of reckoning will come today. Here we are. Now here, karma. This is what we call karma. Karma is real. Those days where even members of parliament are being chased, they prevented. They can't even do the due duties. Here we are. So all that I want to say is that Ken Ofori Atta is not above the law. He should submit himself. He should stop running away. He's out of the country. Please, please, please call upon him to come back to the country. He shouldn't run behind excuse of medical condition and he will not come. He is fit for purpose, and then we are waiting cautiously, we are waiting patiently for Honorable Ken Ofori Atta to arrive in this country to submit himself to the authority for the needful to do. Why? What are you running away from? What are you running away from? Cathedral, 58 million Ghana cedis was sunk. Dollars, $28 million. $58 million. Which can build Kosimiti, can build a lot of roads. He can build Kosimiti. Is it not true? OPK, is it not true? He can build hospitals. He can build markets. He can do a lot of roads. The agenda 111 buildings would have finished.
Honorable conclude.
And what are we talking about?
Honorable Gakwe, conclude.
What the SML? Is it not true? Is it not true? Yes. The biggest hole ever Ghana have actually constructed. So nobody is chasing former minister for him. He is supposed to submit himself to the authority to do the needful. And he is not above the law. Mr. Speaker, on this juncture, he swore an oath to protect the public purse. And now the day of accountability is here. So he should just commit himself. Thank you very much for giving me an opportunity.
Now, leadership of the House.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for the opportunity to make my comments on this matter. Mr. Speaker, Honorable Ken Ofori Atta, a former Minister of Finance and a former presidential envoy, has contributed to nation building. Mr. Speaker, in 2021, when His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo nominated him for the Finance Ministry portfolio, this House had to wait because he indicated he was unwell and seeking for medical treatment outside. Mr. Speaker, in fact, when he even came, he was the only minister that his vetting took 2 days. And in between, this House indulged him to enable him take some break, to enable him proceed with his vetting. Eventually, he left government as a cabinet minister. And, Mr. Speaker, for the records, on the 2nd of January 2025, he wrote to the then Chief of Staff that he needed to travel to Mayo Clinic in Minnesota, USA, for some medical procedure. Mr. Speaker, after President Mahama had taken office, he again wrote to the current Chief of Staff in a letter dated the 22nd of January 2025, indicating that he would again be absent from Ghana for the same purpose. Mr. Speaker, in fact, in the said letter to the Chief of Staff, he attached a letter from the hospital that he was seeking treatment. Mr. Speaker, indeed, the OSP wrote to him on the 24th of January. In fact, this is the first letter that he received from the OSP. Mr. Speaker, in the said letter, Mr. Ofori Atta instructed his lawyers to respond to let the OSP know that indeed he was out of the jurisdiction seeking medical treatment. Mr. Speaker, what happened yesterday by state security operatives must be condemned by all of us. Honorable John Jinapor has narrated his own ordeal, but the records of this House will confirm that when that happened, Right Honorable Speaker Okwe condemned that act. If indeed something had happened yesterday, it does not mean that we should continue today. Mr. Speaker, I have heard human rights activists, respected lawyers for that matter, quote Article 18 of the Constitution to say that that is not applicable in this case. Mr. Speaker, I beg to submit that that was a wrong appreciation of the law. Military men led by Mr. Richard Jakwa unlawfully entered the premises of Mr. Ofori Atta, searched his rooms.
Honorable Minority Leader, the unlawful entry is by your own determination.
Mr. Speaker, you know that by virtue of where we sit, we are able to do some background check before we come here. I wouldn't want to mention names, but Mr. Speaker, when inquiry was made, Mr. Speaker, when inquiry was made, it was obvious, and I stated for emphasis that those officials from the state did not have any warrant. Mr. Speaker, we should not encourage such an approach. We should not. Our democracy is still young. Today, it is Ofori Atta. Tomorrow, it will be another person. Some of our colleagues should not forget that only yesterday, it took the intervention of certain prominent members of our side to ensure that they were not mistreated. We will not mention names. They know. So these should be the voices of reason on this occasion. Some members worked in the night to ensure that people, members of the political class who are members of this House, were not mistreated. Mr. Speaker, let me remind colleagues, today, if you are praising the OSP, let's not forget that not too long ago, we had some of our members at the receiving end by the OSP. Don't let us also forget that even the president himself became a subject matter of OSP investigation. And he was not happy with certain words used by the OSP against him. So don't let us celebrate. Don't let us celebrate because today it is Ofori Atta. Mr. Speaker, all manner of things are being said that Ken has done this, has done that, has done that. I listened to my colleague from Keta, and I listened to my respected colleague from Bogatanga Central, enumerating what to him amount to offenses. And they also argued again that the man has not been tried, therefore there cannot be any human rights abuse. Mr. Speaker, if you invade somebody's home and raid his home, Article 18 of the Constitution protect that person, except when you are doing so lawfully. On this occasion, there was no such law. There was no such law supporting their actions. So they shouldn't be here happy with it. These 4 years will soon come. No, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable member, I think the honorable member's order, that response was in respect of the allegation of breach of natural justice. And you and I are very much aware that natural justice is in two main ways: the Odi Atram pattern and Nemo Judas in Council, but actually not in respect of the Constitution. The statement states there was a breach of natural justice.
Mr. Speaker, the contention here is that the man's home was raided by state security operatives, rather unlawfully. And I dare contend that that conduct was unconstitutional. That is my respectful submission, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I have done a lot of follow-ups on this matter, and I regret to say that we are not sending the right signal to our electorate. Mr. Speaker, the man has put the state on notice of his absence from the jurisdiction. He has made available his medical records coming from a respected medical facility. Mr. Speaker, today, I repeat, if our friends think that it is another person, so it is okay, and they are describing Ofori Atta in all manner of forms, let me remind them that none can ever rule this country with perfection. The man, Mr. Speaker, at the risk of being repetitive, Honorable Stephen Amwa was clear in his language of submission that indeed the successful implementation of the free SHS was led by Ofori Atta as a finance minister. He made sure that he rolled out all important policy of government. Mr. Speaker, if you have any issue, follow due process of law. It is not enough for national security to raid his home. It is not enough to carry armed military men to his residence to terrorize his children and by extension his neighbors. Mr. Speaker, we must, as a house, be united with one voice to condemn this act. Today is Ofori Atta. Next will be other appointees. Mr. Speaker, we must not allow this. Mr. Speaker, only yesterday we saw the Attorney General applying to the court with an application we call nolli prosequi in law, simply saying that he's discontinuing certain cases. That is within his right as an Attorney General. Mr. Speaker, what signal are we sending to the nation that, oh, if it is NDC and NDC is in power, it is right. If it is MPP and if it's MPP in power, it is right. Mr. Speaker, The political class of this country must rise above this. The political class of this country must rise above this. And I would conclude by saying that if indeed...
Hold it. Honorable member, will you... No, I mean you. You are looking back. It is you I'm talking to. You are looking back. It is you I'm talking to. Will you listen to the leader in silence? Why? Leader, continue.
Mr. Speaker, Honorable Member for Keta talked about karma. And I agree with him. I've been reading a lot about karma. The wheels of karma indeed grind slowly, but with great surety. You have quoted it today. Enjoy it whilst it lasts. Mr. Speaker, today he says that we are reaping the fruits of a karmic effect of our actions. So it should be so. You have just come into government. You have a lot of projects you want to undertake. You'll be going to PPA. Ministers will be taking decisions. Some will be good, some will be bad. You roll out policies for Ghanaians to benefit. Some will pay, some will not pay. You would engage the business community. So bear in mind that this karma you have just referred to, 4 years from today, we may. You can even call it 50 years. 50 years, 60 years. So let us solve the problem now. Let us encourage state security agencies with a mandate to investigate and prosecute to follow the law. Let's encourage them to follow the law. Honorable Nitiwu, in his submission, was being very emotional because just a week ago, he had to invite the leaders to intervene. Some and the clerk. Some people calling themselves state security operatives chased him, his car, a former defense minister. And when they saw the car papers, they now realized that whatever the information they had was wrong. A colonel had to come, and when he questioned them, that who sent you, they could not mention. So when we give certain wrong signals, some of those people at the lowest level take advantage to harass people. And even senior members who give order, when they realize that it is wrong, they are unable to even own up. Honorable Nitiwu, a former defense minister, suffered this just a week ago. It took the intervention of leadership and the clerk to parliament to sanitize the situation. Is that what we want? Is that what we want? Mr. Lord Comey, his house was raided. They searched his house, took away all his cars, and after 3 days, they said, we are sorry. They brought the cars back. Is that how we want to govern the country? Mr. Speaker, I shall conclude by urging my colleagues to support this call in bringing sanity in the country so that nobody will take advantage to unleash any violence on anybody. I rest my case. Thank you.
Yes, majority leadership.
Mr. Speaker, before the statement was made, I had cautioned that this is a statement that definitely will generate commentary that will provoke debate in clear violation of our standing orders. And I caution that it is a statement that will attract comments that will go to perhaps damage the reputation of somebody who is not in this chamber. I cautioned. But my friends on the other side insisted and made a statement. Mr. Speaker, if you are a believer in the rule of law and you know the law, you know that if you claim that somebody has improperly searched your house or your property, you go to court. You go to court for the courts to declare that your property rights have been violated, that your dignity has been violated, and the courts are there to provide you that service of taking a decision as to whether or not indeed your rights have been violated. In court, the two sides will be there, and they will all be heard. But if you choose to use a political platform like this one, Parliament, to raise matters that, properly speaking, are the business of courts, you will receive political responses. And that is what I see happening here. Mr. Speaker, as for me, what I hear being said here is that there is a certain class called the political class, and that political class must take care of each other. And what I hear being said in this chamber is that taking care of each other means that we should not hold each other accountable. Mr. Speaker, I have always contended that it will be the most dangerous thing that will happen to the democracy of this country if a certain group called the political class are allowed to conspire to protect each other. Because what will happen, Mr. Speaker,
Honourable members, order.
Mr. Speaker, I am saying what I hear. What I hear. There has been several referrals to a group called political class. Did you hear that or not? Several times there was a referral to a group known as a political class. And several times a call on members of the political class not to do this to each other. And what do we mean by let's not do this to each other? Let's not, when there is a change in government, try to hold each other accountable this way or that way. I take a position that, indeed, the reason why the voters go and vote for one political party as against the other is so that they will come and hold each other accountable. The day that we stop holding each other accountable, that will be the day the electorate will lose confidence in this democracy. And when they lose confidence in this democracy, that is the end of democracy in Ghana. So we must hold each other accountable. When we vote for a new party and the party come, they owe a duty to those who voted them to hold those who have been taken out accountable. As for how they do it, it should be a matter of following due process and the law. Let's talk about nolle prosequi. I heard somebody mention nolle prosequi. And withdrawal of prosecutions. Mr. Speaker, if the state of Ghana, if the Republic of Ghana prosecutes a citizen for 8 years and is unable to convict that citizen, then there's a problem. There is a problem. How can the state mount a prosecution for 8 good years with all the resources at the disposal of the state and yet not be able to convict that citizen? Or at least get a ruling on that citizen. Either you are guilty or you are not guilty. So when you are unable and you try somebody for 8 good years,
and you cannot secure a conviction, then clearly there's something wrong with the case. And so if another Attorney General comes and is convinced that you don't even have a basis for the prosecution and enters a nolle prosequi, that is not a case of clearing people. You had 8 good years to secure a conviction, and 8 years you failed. Clearly there's something wrong, and that is what has manifested itself in a nolle prosequi. Mr. Speaker, let me say that I cautioned against making the statement because I didn't want us to go into a situation where we'll be making unfair comments about somebody who is not in the chamber to defend himself. Mr. Speaker, the facts are simple. That military officers, policemen, and national security personnel invaded, entered, searched the private property of the former Minister of Finance. Mr. Speaker, I will not run any commentary on that matter until I've conducted some investigations, ascertain what the facts are, and then I will come and appraise this House of exactly what happened so that we can be properly informed. If there is anything that we should condemn about what has happened, we can collectively as a House condemn it. I caution you that don't make statements that would involve commentary that will undermine the image of someone, because I will not be happy if it is done to me, and that is why I objected. And so I'm not going to join colleagues to comment on the statement, except to add that the Office of Special Prosecutor has been severally mentioned. This was an office that was established to investigate and prosecute alleged cases of corruption and abuse of office by public officers. They have indicated that in this instance, they are investigating the former finance minister for 2 stated matters that they are investigating, which is matters relating to SML. I'm sure you are all aware that it was a big issue in this country where it is alleged that there was some corruption scandal relating to revenue assurance contracts awarded by the Ministry of Finance and the GRA to SML. And then secondly, there's this big issue of the National Cathedral, which we all know the story of, that some monies were paid for work that is supposed to have been done there, and it is alleged that the work has not been done. So the Special Prosecutor is seized with the matter, is investigating the matter, and wants the former finance minister to appear before them for some investigation. They indicate that there are 2 other matters they are investigating, but they haven't indicated exactly what those 2 other matters are. So, Mr. Speaker, let's be cautious not to make statements that will be prejudicial to the work of the Special Prosecutor. And that was why I cautioned and advised that we shouldn't raise the matter in this chamber. But once we've made the issue a matter for discussion in this chamber, we cannot also begrudge those who run commentary on the personality of the former finance minister. But let me touch a little on this issue of using the military. Mr. Speaker, I shouldn't say this, but I am compelled to say it. The Electoral Commissioner, I have observed that for several years, a whole military battalion was placed in front of her house to protect her house. At a time when Nitiwul was the defense minister, didn't Nitiwul know that the police are available to provide security to the Electoral Commissioner? Nitiwul, he was defense minister, and he placed a whole military battalion at the entrance of the Electoral Commissioner's residence. And the electoral commissioner was guarded by soldiers who followed her all the time. Today, the same Nitul let me repeat it whilst he's here. Sit down, let me repeat what I said in your presence. I'm saying that you are very concerned about the use of the military to conduct searches in people's homes. And I'm reminding you that whilst you stood there as Minister for Defense and sat there as Minister for Defense, had oversight over the military, you used the military to guard the residence of the Electoral Commissioner. True or false? Mr. Speaker, he used the military to provide personal security for the Electoral Commissioner.
I recognize Honorable Dominic Nitiwood on the point of order.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much. And I want to thank the Majority Leader for dragging me back to the chamber. It is true, Mr. Speaker, that on the advice of state security, we gave soldiers to certain categories of people, including your good self.
Honorable Niti will be guided by Standing Order 122.
Thank you. We did give to the Electoral Commissioner and the deputies. We gave to the OSP, and we also gave to the Speaker of Parliament. So it is true, and not just soldiers. There were joint soldiers and police. So that is true. But Mr. Speaker, that is different from, and they were not a battalion. First of all, they were not a battalion. A battalion of soldiers is 800 to 1,000 soldiers. So there was not a battalion. There were anything between 3 soldiers and 4 soldiers at a time.
So, Honorable Nitiwood, let me understand you. He alluded to the fact that when you are a defense minister, they use soldiers to guide.
Mr. Speaker, he did say that I use a battalion of soldiers to protect the Electoral Commissioner.
I heard soldiers.
I never use a battalion of soldiers to protect the Electoral
Commissioner. Honorable Nitiwood.
It is true.
The word used is soldiers. I have heard soldiers.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Let me confirm again that the Electoral Commissioner enjoyed the use, not just the Electoral Commissioner, the Electoral Commissioner, the Speaker for about 2 years, the OSP, up to now the OSP, they enjoy the services of soldiers and police to guide them on the advice of state security. And at any time, and I wrote to them, and that at any time that we felt that circumstances demanded that we withdraw either the soldiers or the police, we will do that. And each of them had between 3 to 6 soldiers, depending on the circumstances. So it is true.
What is the point of order within the meaning of Standing Order 122?
So the point of order is that at no point did I use a battalion of soldiers to protect any individual.
Mr. Speaker,
Majority Leader, continue.
The simple point I want to make is that all regimes at all times have used the military together with the police in certain operations. You agree that that is the case? So today, if you see the military and the police working together, you cannot suddenly create an impression that something that is unacceptable has happened. Because we have used them together. Indeed, Mr. Speaker, night security, just night security. When we should be deploying the police, we often deploy them with the soldiers. So let's not make it look like, for the first time, something that has never been heard of is happening in this country simply because
a joint military and police team have visited the residence of the former finance minister. Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Ofori Atta.
Mr. Speaker,
What?
I don't know what raid means. I don't know what raid means, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I don't know who was in the residence at that time. That's why I said give me time to conduct some inquiries and come and brief the House. But the first point I want to make is that don't make it seem as if something unheard of has happened because soldiers and police have visited the residence of a former finance minister. Mr. Speaker, as for the issues that have been mentioned here, the conduct of searches, the prosecution of politicians, investigation of politicians, we've all gone through all of that and we are standing here, including my very good self. The OSP has investigated me, has taken me to, the court. I have fought my case. I have won. I won. So I advise you,
Honorable Majority Leader, please address the chair. Honorable Dominic Nitiwul,
I advise you.
You are a senior member of the House.
Instead of making it a subject of debate in this chamber, please go and answer the questions. Like some of us boldly and confidently went and answered the questions. We were investigated, we were arraigned in court, we responded to our charges, we defended ourselves, and we got judgments in our favor. And then we are free people. That is how a democracy functions. Don't make it look like suddenly a particular class is under attack because institutions of state that are supposed to hold us accountable have activated themselves and are doing their work. I don't know if there was any raid, but I know that whether police or soldiers, any member of the security agencies can be used at any time. Can be used at any time in an effort to engage in law enforcement. That's how I see it. But like I said, I will check, double check, and come back to you with a report of exactly what happened. This House has a duty to protect the human rights of citizens. If you check our own standing orders, you know that we even have a committee, a human rights committee. And the job of the Human Rights Committee is to take on human rights complaints, investigate them, and then take the appropriate decisions in respect of those complaints. So we have a human rights mandate. And so if anybody thinks that his or her rights have been violated and decides not to go to the Human Rights Commission or to go to the High Court to seek an enforcement of their rights, but choose to make a petition to Parliament, Parliament's Human Rights Committee has a duty to take on the petition, investigate it, and then give appropriate direction. Because we don't have a committee yet, I undertake, as the leader of this House, to look into the matter, get some report, and come and present it to you. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, honorable members. This House is a house of debate, and we are guided by rules in the conduct of business, be it question, statement, motion, resolutions, among others. I must state that the manner in which the matter under consideration has been carried out certainly leaves much to be desired. Honourable members, Order 93 is very clear on prior indulgence of the House and the leave of the Speaker in the Speaker's admission of statement. The Speaker in the chair then indulged the maker of the statement with caution that honorable members will be circumspect and measured in their pronouncement. Unfortunately, in my own opinion, some honorable members certainly went overboard. Rules are made to guide proceedings. Where there are no rules, the Speaker is enjoined to provide appropriate interventions. I urge honorable members to be on the guide accordingly in order for order, decorum, and decency to characterize proceedings on the floor of this House. We must also be cautious to uphold the right of persons who do not have audience on the floor of the House in our conduct of proceedings. They may not have the opportunity to be heard on the floor of the House. Honourable members, regarding the issue relating to the former minister responsible for finance, I am aware it's a subject matter of investigation by the Office of the Special Prosecutor. Honourable members, the Office of the Special Prosecutor is established by the Office of the Special Prosecutors Act 2017, Act 959. Honourable members, the law mandates the Special Prosecutor to investigate specific cases of alleged corruption or corruption-related offenses involving public officers and persons who have been entrusted with prominent public functions in Ghana or outside Ghana. Honourable members, I would therefore urge the Special Prosecutor to operate within the ambit of the law. Honourable members, we are all not above the law. Therefore, as Ghanaians, we must respect each other and operate within the ambit of the law. I thank you for the opportunity. Honourable members, we have two other statements.